Welcome to God, Sex, and You, a daily discipleship podcast on healthy sexuality. Here's your host, Purity Pastor, Dustin Daniels.
As the old saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And that is certainly the case today as we wrap up our conversation with Dr. Tim Kimmel of Family Matters, discussing his book, Grace-Filled Marriage. Well, Tim has certainly answered many questions over the past several decades when it comes to all different sorts of family matters, including sex, of course. In his book, Grace-Filled Marriage, Tim talks about grace-filled sex. And he discusses how our sexual relationship with our spouse, how it really is a litmus test on how serious we are about being an agent of God's grace. He also talks about what grace-filled sex is not. Things like using sex as manipulation or as a reward or punishment, or even sex as obligation. At the end of this podcast, I'll let you know more about Tim's resources at Family Matters. Well, in today's podcast, we're going to discuss three things. Number one, how indifference can first start in a marriage. Number two, when does a husband deserve sex? And number three, and why is it so rare that husbands and wives are on the same page sexually? Today's lesson is titled Grace in the Marriage Bed.
To me, the unique part of the marriage that you address a lot on your show is the sexual intimacy. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, that's the thing that is, when you look at couples, that's the thing that's unique to them that they share with no one else. At least they're not supposed to. Right. In other words, that's their own. And I think God can give a loving marriage. You have your own little inside talk. I would say I hope people never see text messages back and forth between Darcy and I. But that's our text. That we talk. We have that. But so many couples, that's where the indifference comes in first. Mm. It's sad that they miss this. And this is the thing that made them unique. That's the one thing that makes their marriage unique. Yeah. All the other stuff is say, but we had kids. Raising kids, a lot of people can do that, but this is different. Commingling assets, being friends, having hobbies, anybody can do that. Yeah. Marriage, this is a unique thing, and God wanted to bless that. Obviously, it's not the center stage thing. It's certainly not the focus of a marriage, but it's the unique thing to them. And when I meet these couples, and I mean, sex is maybe an annual event on Valentine's Day, if that at all, or whatever. And I just hurt for them.
Well, and that shows our own brokenness inside this. Marriage is not the problem. I'm the problem. Yeah. Right? It's me that's the problem. And for me to give grace inside the very special sexual union, inside of that, it takes a lot of effort. But you know what? What I found, Tim, is that if I love the Lord, I'm going to find a way to love Amy first and foremost, not physically, because that's all about me at that point. But I'm going to find my way to serve and love her. And just like you said earlier, this is about Christ proposing on the cross. And when we look at our marriages as a reflection, or they should be, of the capital M marriage of Christ and the church, then all of a sudden I'm able to be gracious in my marriage, but specifically in sexuality. Yeah. Is that right?
Right. Absolutely. I don't know if you remember what Daryl said when they redid their vows, because I pulled out a pen and I wrote it down. He said to Steve, he says, God calls you to love your wife. Your wife feels loved when she is protected.
I do remember this.
When she is protected. And so guys come along and they think, I provide and I show up and I'm not really cool. You should be ready to just jump all over me. And I'm thinking, you're not paying attention. But for Darcy and myself, this was an area where when we got married, and it's seldom that a couple is on the same page when it comes to sexual intimacy. Their desire for it at that particular moment, their need for it at that particular moment. And unless you are planning something out and we're going away on a romantic getaway, a couple knows, okay, something's going to happen here. But the ongoing things, and God gave us sex as an outlet to help us avoid temptation. That's one thing. So yes, meeting a need is one thing, and also a way to show affection, and another way to connect at the heart, and all that stuff. But so for Darcy and me, we just said, this is where grace has got to visit us. Because, we have a man filled with testosterone, a woman filled with estrogen, and she's looking at kids, and I'm looking at the responsibilities I have. And that's where God, I think, really, his grace came along, just be available to each other. Don't put ridiculous hoops that somebody has to jump through before you're ready to be intimate with them. Just kind of keep an open attitude towards one another in this area, and give enthusiastically and receive with joy, whichever it is. And it's just been a lot easier on that part. But I meet couples where it's just eggshells. That's all they're walking on.
We make it harder than what it needs to be.
Yeah, it does need to be. And what's fun too, I think we've created a bit. I think the comedians have created a bit of a narrative that I don't think is necessarily true between men and women. They assume man is always the pursuer, woman is always the responder. It's always the man's idea. That's just not necessarily true.
Right.
And I love it when Darcy can sit down with a crowd of people and say to those women, you have a right. You have God's blessing to not only enjoy this, to desire this, to pursue this, to initiate this, and all that stuff. And men love it when they're on the receiving end of a woman like that.
Sure.
But once again, I think our sin comes in and so distorts the image God made us to reflect. And once again, but as grace comes along, and you know what grace is? It's like that oil that you drop on the water that smooths it out. You say, oh, there's a reflection. I just made that up, so that may be a good analogy or not. I don't know.
Well, I think the reality is that we can't go wrong with grace.
No.
We just can't. No. And I love the fact that, yes, you got to have love in a marriage, but when you start adding grace, everything changes.
Yeah. And tell them again what you meant by grace. Give that definition again.
This undeserving favor, this undeserving something that you
kindness.
Don't deserve.
Yeah. They're giving them something they desperately need, but they don't deserve.
They don't deserve
They
it.
don't deserve it. Yeah. And that's what God does for us. You listen to couples out there, and she'll say, I just don't think he deserves grace. He deserves sex because, well, he doesn't help me as much as I wish he would. Matthew chapter 5 unpacks the best discourse on applied grace in the Bible, the Sermon on the Mount. In fact, it so blew them away when people listened, they just, I can't believe it. This can't be what he's saying. Even over the centuries, there have been theologians, when they go to write a commentary on Matthew, can't believe that this could possibly have been meant to be activated while we're still on earth. That this is what we're going to be like in a kingdom. It just, no, nobody can do that. And he said, well, you can't, but I can, and I will through you. But here, he had this one line. He says, God causes his rain to fall on the just and the unjust. Yes. He causes the sun to shine on the just, on the righteous and the unrighteous. Now, what is he saying there? Listen, you can't live without rain. We all need water. We all need sunlight. We can't live. Now, we can live without sex. We can't. It's not but the fact is, he does that because we have these driving needs within us. And to me, in the book, we outline 3 driving needs: a need for security, a need for feel significant and valued, and a need for a strength or a sufficiency for the moment. Those things are met by the spouse through the words we say and the actions. That person feels complete there. And then we can get beyond all these nitpicky, human, silly, selfish things that we use to block this intimacy thing in our But I hurt. I hurt for a lot of couples. I just do. This is so sad.
Well,
God
Tim,
wanted this to be a great dimension of your life.
Absolutely.
He wanted this to be a great reward of your love. And he wanted this to be that little quiet, just between you two, part of the love story nobody gets to read, but you get to really enjoy. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons we wrote that book. That just trying to help us see there's more. There's more that we can all have in Jesus.
Well, Tim, you are a blessing to so many people. Dr. Tim Kimmel and Grace-Filled Marriage, and your daughter Karis with her brand new book, Grace-Based Discipline. Congratulations.
Thank you,
on that.
Dustin. It's an honor, and we give all that glory to the person who deserved it, Jesus.
Hasn't this time with Dr. Tim Kimmel been great? He is just so much fun and so wise, and he wants to pour everything that he's learned about grace and family into your family. So let me encourage you to visit Tim's ministry website at familymatters.net, and he's got dozens of materials for you and your family. You know, some of the resources that I've found incredibly helpful to me personally have been Grace-Based Parenting and also a book called Basic Training for a Few Good Men. So there's also dozens of other resources there as well when it comes to marriage and family. So once again, let me encourage you to visit familymatters.net. Well, thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and You. I'm Dustin Daniels. And if you're in Phoenix, I want to invite you to our weekly community group. It's a group that focuses on healthy sexuality, and it's for men and women. Everybody is welcome, and you're invited to listen to God with us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. at Northern Hills Community Church. We're in Building A, Room 301. You can follow me on Twitter at PurityPastor and email me your questions. I would love to hear from you. You can visit DustinDanielsRadio.com. And by the way, we've got a new website coming up. Probably a month or so away from releasing that, and just ask for your prayers on putting the final touches on it. Excited to show that to you. 1 Corinthians 4:20 says the kingdom of God isn't just a lot of talk, it's living in God's power, the power that's in the very name and the shed blood of Jesus Christ. I love you, and I look forward to our time again on Monday. Have a great weekend.